Let's talk about some of the potential replacements. It's not a subject I'm entirely comfortable with because they've still got a manager, but I do appreciate that Arsenal have got to do their own due diligence. They've got to have their own ideas, Crossy, on who might be the man to replace Arsene Wenger when he eventually goes. So who's in the frame?
Well, I think you've got to look at someone like Tuchel at Dortmund, Max Allegri at Juventus, who I think is interested in the job. I've seen his sort of protestations that he wants to stay, but I do. I think there'd be a lot of managers going for that job. I mean, Simeone, I think, would be interested. Whether he would fit the profile is another thing. I don't think he would. Just because I think they would want someone who's quite even-handed, wants to play good football, and Wenger has delivered very, very good football for 20 years, marvellous football. And I think they want to follow in that good passing style, attacking, and it's really good to see. I think Roger Schmidt is perhaps the outsider from Leverkusen, who, you know, is in action this week in the Champions League. Personally, I think you need someone with the gravitas. I thought Jamie Carragher did a brilliant column in the Mail yesterday about sort of saying that Arsenal were successful before, they'll be successful again. When Wenger arrived, he wasn't a particularly renowned name. And I do feel that we've moved on so much in the 20 years following that we know these guys, whereas Wenger, I think we'd know Wenger when he arrived at Arsenal if it were 20 years on, if you see what I mean. Yep. But I just feel that they need someone of a stature and a standing that will be able to say to Mesut Ozil, I'm going to take this club forward, I want you to stay. Look, I think
I thought you were going to say he was going to substitute.
Well, I know, well, he should have done. I mean, it's remarkable. I mean, that again, question marks Wenger's management, how he can leave him on the pitch. It was shockingly bad on Wednesday night. How anyone can see that he should stay on the pitch is wrong.
Nick in living?
Well, he was Wednesday night.
Jace, Cross just mentioned some of the names in the frame, some of the contenders. Who do you think is the man succeeding?
That's a big question, obviously. I mean, I think John's right. There'll be a lot of people out there who want the job. It's because it's the one sort of underexploited Premier League job. I mean, everything is in place. You know, you've got the stadium, you've got the training ground, you've got the budget, you've got the cachet, you've got the fan base. There's so much to go at with Arsenal. And actually, following on from Wenger, I don't think it's going to be as hard as it was following on from Ferguson. I agree with Steve. I think it's a different dynamic. I think that there actually are people at Arsenal who are desperate to sort of have more freedom, more authority, more chance to do things themselves as well. And I think that's also quite interesting. But one interesting name, I was thinking about this as well, one interesting name, obviously they've just beaten Arsenal, is Ancelotti, because Ancelotti isn't having the greatest time at Bayern Munich. And I know for a fact he really does like Arsenal as a club. And when he left Chelsea, he was turning up at Arsenal quite a lot just to sort of see things. He'd be quite an interesting character. But I actually think they might have to look at restructuring themselves a little bit and maybe not going for a like-for-like replacement, and maybe the idea of a younger coach with somebody working alongside him, director of football type or whatever. I think that might work at Arsenal. I think it might be a change there, that they could do that instead. But there'll be so many good candidates. I mean, Simeone, Allegri's a big, interesting candidate, Sampaoli at Seville. There's lots of different candidates out there that they could get. And this is the process they should be doing right now. And that's why I think, personally, it would help everyone if it was resolved right now, if Wenger did come out right now and say, look, OK, I am going at the end of the season. People might say it's a knee-jerk reaction to the Munich result. Well, it's not really, is it? I mean, you know, it's not one result. And I think it would help the situation. Then the club could move forward and do more of a transition.
I think they missed the boat. I think they missed the boat, Arsenal. I mean, for me, you know, the manager who fitted their DNA absolutely perfectly, and him theirs, was Guardiola. I think he would have been a fantastic manager for Arsenal because the way Arsenal play, their philosophy, their whole kind of ethos about football is already Guardiola's, apart from the winning. And I think he would have been a fantastic manager. And the fact that they have let this drift, and you're now talking about a possibility who, it could be anybody, take your pick. The fact that Arsenal haven't had some kind of line of succession kind of already in place really smacks of bad management for me. They've had a long time to think about this. OK, United got it wrong, but there's no reason why Arsenal didn't have to do that. And if you're talking about an outside name, I think the boy at Hull, Marco Silva, who's doing a fantastic job there. If you're going to go for somebody with perhaps potential, with somebody alongside him, I think for me he'd be a good fit.